All right, I'm going to do a short reading for you, and I will read from, let's see. Has anyone watched online the readings I did at the last signings? Okay, good. I'll do the same one because it's good, but I just don't want to bore people with the same signings over again. I am going to read to you from The Shadows of Self, which is the sequel to The Alloy of Law. This is a Mistborn novel. For those who haven't read the Mistborn books, I originally pitched Mistborn to my editor. Pitched Mistborn to my editor as a trilogy of trilogies, which was an epic fantasy trilogy, and then actually a modern urban fantasy trilogy in the same world, not in our world, but in the same world, and with a 1980s level fantasy trilogy become the foundation of mythology and religion in the new in the world, which I thought was fascinating. I hadn't seen anyone ever do that before. And then I want to do a trilogy of space opera science fiction books set in the future where the magic system become the means by which space travel is possible. So it's a science fiction with allomancy and things. And this was really interesting to me. I designed the whole magic system to work with all of this. Though when I started working on Way of Kings, I realized it was going to take me a while to get to the second trilogy. And so I wanted to do some shorter Mistborn books in between that would be fast-paced and fun, but which also would keep people interested in Mistborn, but wouldn't involve plots and characters that were so thick and deep that you had to reread each time a new one came out. I wanted them to be more standalone. Does that make sense? Like, I felt like The Way of Kings was going to be so in-depth that asking people to keep track of two series like that at once would be a bad idea. So everything else I'm releasing, I'm trying to do just make them as awesome as possible, and you love them, but at the end, you have things wrapped up a little bit more so that when you pick the book back up, you can just launch right back into when you pick up the sequel. So that's my goal. So The Alloy of Law was a 1910 in between the two trilogies, sort of Sherlock Holmesian slash Wild West-in Mistborn novel about a guy who had been a young nobleman who went off into the roughs, which is the kind of the frontier, leaving behind everything in the city, and went out and lived there for a while, and then finally actually inherited his house back in the city and moved back in. And the book starts with him moving back after having been away for so long and having lived out on the frontier. And that's kind of the story and the premise of who the character is. And we're going to read from the second book. It has just minor spoilers in that, surprise, they don't die at the end of the first one.
Darn, you don't die?
I figure I should write one of these, the book read, to tell my side. Not the side that historians will tell for me. I doubt they'll get it right. I don't know that I'd like them to anyhow. Wax tapped the book with the end of his pencil, then scribbled down a note to himself on a separate page. I'm thinking of inviting the Boris brothers to the wedding, Stera said from the couch opposite the one Wax sat upon. He grunted, still reading. I know Sayes doesn't approve of what I've done, the book continued, but what did he expect me to do, knowing what I know? The Boris brothers, Steris continued, they're acquaintances of yours, aren't they? I shot their father, Wax said, not looking up. Twice. I couldn't let it die, the book read. It's not right. Hemalurgy is good now, I figure. Are they likely to try to kill you? Steris asked. Boris Jr. swore to drink my blood, Wax said. Boris III, and yes, he's the brother of Boris Jr., don't ask. He swore to, what was it, eat my toes? He's not a clever man. We can use it, the book read. We should, shouldn't we? I'll just put them on the list then, Steris said. Wax sighed, looking up from the book. You're going to invite my mortal enemies, he said dryly, to our wedding. We have to invite someone, Steris said. She sat with her blonde hair up in a bun, her stacks of papers for the wedding arrangements settled around her like subjects at court. Her blue flowered dress was fashionable without being the least bit daring, and her prim hat clung to her hair so tightly it might as well have been nailed in place. I'm certain there are better choices for invitations than people who want me dead, Wax said. I hear family members are traditional. As a point of fact, Steris said, I believe your remaining family members actually do want you dead. She had him there. Well, yours don't. Not that I've heard anyway. If you need to fill out the wedding party, invite more of them. I've invited all of my family as would be proper, and all of my friends who merit the regard. You, however, have given me only 2 names of people to invite, Wayne and a woman named Renette, whom you noted probably wouldn't try to shoot you at your own wedding. Very unlikely, Wax agreed. She hasn't tried to kill me in years. Not seriously, at least. Steris sighed, setting the sheet aside. Steris, Wax said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be flippant. Renette will be fine. We joke about her, but she's a good friend. She won't ruin the wedding, I promise. Then who will? Excuse me? I've known you for the better part of a year now, Lord Waxillium, Steris said. I can accept you for who you are, but I am under no illusions. Something will happen at our wedding. A villain will burst in, guns firing, or we'll discover explosives at the altar. Perhaps the priest will try to assassinate you. It will happen. I'm merely trying to prepare for it. You're serious, aren't you? You're actually thinking of inviting one of my enemies so you can plan for a disruption. I've sorted them by threat level and ease of access, Steris said, shuffling through the papers. Wait, Wax said, rising and walking over. He leaned down next to her, looking over his shoulder at the pages. Each sheet contained a detailed biography. Ape Manton, the Dasher Boys, Rust's Rick Stranger? I'd forgotten about him. Where did you get these? Your exploits are a matter of public record, Steris said. One that is of increasing interest to people. How long did you spend on this? Wax asked, flipping through the pages in the stack. I wanted to be thorough, and this sort of thing helps me think. Besides, I wanted to know what you had spent your life doing. Well, that was actually kind of sweet, in a bizarre Steris sort of way. Invite Douglas Venture, he said. He's kind of a friend, but he can't hold his liquor. You can count on him making a disturbance at the after-party.
Cafe line 1, cafe line 1.
Excellent, Steris said. And the other 37 seats in your section? Invite leaders among the seamstresses and dock workers of my house, Wax said, and the captains of the constable watches of the various octants. It will be a nice gesture. Very well. If you want me to help more with the wedding planning, no, this is the perfect sort of thing to occupy me, though someday I would like to know what is in that little book you peruse so often. Aye. The front door to the mansion burst open down below, and booted feet thumped up the steps. A moment later, the door to the study slammed open, and Wayne all but tumbled in. Darius, the house butler, stood apologetically just behind. Wiry and of medium height, Wayne had a round, clean-shaven face, and, as usual, wore his old Rust clothing, though Steris had pointedly sent him new clothes on at least 3 separate occasions. Wayne, Wax said, you could try the doorbell sometime. Nah, that warms the butler. Which is the point. Beady little buggers, Wayne said, shutting the door on Darius. Can't trust them. Look, Wax, we've got to go. The marksman has made his move. Finally, Wax thought. Let me grab my coat. Wayne nodded, glancing towards Steris. Hello, crazy, he said, nodding to her. Hello, idiot, she said, nodding back. Wax buckled his gun belt on over his fine city suit with vest and cravat, then threw on his duster. Let's go, he said, checking his ammo. Wayne pushed his way out the door, barreling down the stairs. Wax paused by Steris's couch. A man must have his hobbies, she said, raising another sheet of paper and inspecting it. I accept yours, Lord Waxillium, but do try to avoid being shot in the face, as we have wedding portraits to sit for this evening. I'll remember that. Keep an eye on my sister out there. Well, this is a dangerous chase, Wax said, hastening to the door. I doubt Morrissey will be involved. If you think that, then your powers of investigation are suspect. It's a dangerous chase. She'll find a way to be involved. Wax paused by the door. He glanced back at Steris, and she looked up, meeting his eyes. It felt as if there should be something more at their parting. A send-off of some sort. Fondness. Steris seemed to sense it too, but neither said anything. Wax tipped his head back, taking a shot of whiskey and metal flakes, then charged to the doorway and threw himself over the balcony railing. He slowed himself with a push on the silver inlays in the marble floor of the entryway, hitting with a thump of boots on stone. Darius opened the front door for him as he leapt out to join Wayne at the coach for the ride to... Wax froze on the steps down to the street. What the hell is that? Motor car, Wayne said. We will stop there. There you go.